Because what you did to that child that day, what you did to somebody's baby that day, in my mind is inexcusable. Any harm that any jail I impose upon you causes doesn't even compare to the harm you caused that child that day. One day, that 15, 20 minutes, the harm you caused that child. Nothing that you will go through.
Buckle up, guys. Today we're stepping into a sentencing hearing that instantly hits like a gut punch. Right out of the gate, the judge makes it clear this isn't about legal technicalities or excuses. He frames the entire case around one brutal truth. The harm done to a child can never be undone or balanced by punishment. In just seconds, the tone is set. This courtroom is about accountability, morality, and consequences.
Court does call the case of the People versus Rachonda Jefferson. Counsel, did your appearance, please.
Reed, Assistant Public Defender, with on behalf of Ms. Jefferson. You state your name for the record.
All right. Date and time set for sentencing. Ms. Blair.
Yes, Your Honor. Jamie Nelson, the mother of the victim child, is present, and she would like to address the
All right.
providing.
All right. Before we do that, counsel, your client has read the pre-sentence report.
Yes.
Are there any material deletions, corrections, or additions to that?
There are no factual corrections, deletions, or additions.
Thank you. All right. Good afternoon. What's your name, please?
My name is Jamie Nelson.
All right. Go.
All right, guys. Here the court formally calls the case and confirms it's time for sentencing. This may sound procedural, but it matters because it signals that guilt is no longer in question. The legal phase is over. What remains now is judgment. The calm, methodical pace contrasts sharply with what's coming next, making the emotional impact of the victim's words hit even harder.
Go ahead.
Sweating, struggling to force my lungs to swallow air. I wake up in the middle of the night as an image of my child. This woman, Ms. Jefferson, replays relentlessly in my mind. As an adult, I can share how this personal impact is discussed. I'm not sure we'll ever be able to overcome the guilt I feel as a parent because I was not able to protect my son from this woman. She refused to hear my pleas to understand my child's disability. I blame myself that I did not fight harder than she said to me on the very first day. They say I can't hit kids, so I don't know what you expect me to do with him. I now live in a constant state of fear when Jace is under the care of an individual I do not personally know. At work, I've been less able to help my own at-risk high school students as they worry about trusting the safety of my own son in the school system that I so love. It is a parent's nightmare to receive a phone call from the police and hear the words, "I need to speak to you about your child." The call was to report that Ms. Jefferson did to my son, but for a moment, the world stopped, and I waited to hear that the child had been killed.
All right, guys. The child's mother begins her impact statement, and the courtroom immediately shifts. She doesn't speak as a lawyer or activist. She speaks as a parent carrying guilt she should never have to bear. She describes fear, sleepless nights, and the crushing realization that she trusted someone who ignored her child's disability. This moment humanizes the case and pulls everyone into her reality.
As a fourth-generation public educator, I'm now scared to send my son to school. His faith has been destroyed by Ms. Jefferson. School is supposed to be a safe haven for children. Ms. Jefferson took the sense of security from my family. Teaching high school in Romulus and Belleville for the last 23 years, there's a sign in my classroom that says, "This is a safe place," on my classroom door. I had students throw scissors across the room and scream in my face, yet I still kept them safe and knew that I must remain a professional, knowing that my students had special needs, just as my son has, even if theirs may come from things like living in a homeless shelter or witnessing violence. I devoted my life to provide for the safety of thousands of students in our public school system. She couldn't take care of my one. I get physically ill with pain the moment I watch Ms. Jefferson ignore Jace's cries for help as he hung upside down from the legally and incorrectly fastened harness. This disgusting part of the video was not even shown in the court, but as a mother, it is an image of her face, spiteful and condescending, and she tells my autistic son that she won't help him as he begs, screaming for help. I fear this image may never leave me. and I know the sound of his screams. Never. I can tell you how watching that video in a suffocating small police interrogation room changed every moment of my life forever.
All right, guys, this is where the story turns haunting. The mother recalls receiving a phone call from police, the kind of call every parent dreads. For a moment, time stops as she fears the worst. She explains how her belief in school as a safe place was shattered in seconds. The emotional weight here isn't just pain. It's the loss of trust in a system meant to protect children.
I'm inherently empathetic and compassionate, yet knowing that Miss Jefferson repeatedly slapped my disabled child as he was restrained on a special education bus, it's forced me to grapple with my faith in humanity. As an adult, I can put the impact into words, but definitely stating the and most important as an impact of this case. Jace is too young to share his words about how he was physically abused by Miss Jefferson, an adult he was supposed to trust, in a place that he was supposed to be safe, will affect him now and always. He can't tell us of the fear he experienced as he ran straight from the bus each day, refusing to speak and slammed the house door, sometimes locking me outside. He can't tell us what through his mind as he sat staring blankly, refusing to even mention the bus ride, or how when his mom told him to behave on the bus, blaming him because she only knew the side of Miss Jefferson's false story, how confused he must be that his mom was allowing someone else to abuse him over and over. Jace doesn't have the words, or maybe lacks the ability yet to process what being abused by a public school employee.
All right, guys, the mother now describes the video evidence, and it's chilling. She recounts watching her autistic child restrained, hanging helplessly, begging for help that never came. Even worse, she describes the defendant's expression, cold, dismissive, unmoved. This isn't just abuse captured on video. It's a moment that permanently imprinted trauma onto a parent who can never unsee it.
Has increased his disdain and aversion and aversion to school and lack of trust of adults, along with his inability to feel safe as well. Jace had to move to another school system after this abuse, and for a child with autism, that change could be devastating. After the abuse, Jace had and continues to have major emotional dysregulation in school. His ability to establish relationships with adults has been diminished. Whenever I've ever had to bring up the one bus driver, his pulse raises, eyes widen, and he will adamantly say he never wants to talk about that mean lady who hates him again. His entire demeanor changes as he relives the hell Miss Jefferson inflicted on him. In addition to Jace, 6 other special needs children witnessed this abuse. They were told by her to fear police officers and friend that they were going to jail as 8-year-olds. As our most vulnerable population, their trust in adults and authority figures is diminished. These children also can't share their voices today, but they chose to show how affected them social.
All right, guys, this section explains the damage that didn't end when the bus stopped. The child's behavior changed: fear, silence, panic, distrust. His ability to feel safe around adults was broken. The mother explains that he can't fully express what happened, which makes the harm even more devastating. This isn't a single incident. It's a permanent alteration of a child's emotional world.
You probably have seen the national news and outcry that these actions have caused. Across the nation, people are disgusted. Jace was 7 years old at the time. With a big smile, a love for sports, and his cats, Maisie and Moby, Jace faces constant struggles in life to his disabilities and special needs. When Miss Jefferson physically and verbally abused him, she multiplied these challenges for Jace. Her cruelty crushed and altered the lives of not only an innocent child, but also a devoted full-time single mom and a loving teenage brother. Sorry.
It's okay. No, you're good. Just take your time. You're fine, right? We've got all day if necessary. So you just just go ahead.
With full confidence, I can assure you that this is not the only time Miss Jefferson abused Jace. This is the only video that was viewed for this case. However, this was not the only incident.
All right, guys, we learned this wasn't trauma limited to one child. Other special needs children witnessed the abuse and were threatened into silence. These kids were told to fear police and authority figures, damaging their sense of safety and trust. This moment expands the scope of harm, showing how one adult's actions ripple through an entire group of vulnerable children.
In the 2 months that Jace rode the bus, he started to act out during the last hour of the school day, and begged to be kicked out rather than riding the bus multiple times. He got off the bus with shoes missing, panting, and sweating on numerous occasions. I had to pick him up hysterical on the side of the road in a different neighborhood as Miss Jefferson screamed at me from the bus. This day and many others, Miss Jefferson called me multiple times on my personal cell phone, which I don't know how she got, as she yelled at Jace in the background and threatened me that she was going to have him not be able to ride the bus. The extreme distress Jace showed that day of the video was repeated on numerous occasions, and Jace eventually reported that she had hit him many other times, but that he didn't tell me because he thought he'd get in trouble. As the full videos for every bus ride are now under review, I shake at the thought of what I will see and will not be surprised if we have a court again after further abuse.
All right, guys, this is a crucial turning point. The mother reveals this was not a one-time incident. There were repeated signs, missing shoes, panic, hysterical breakdowns, and desperate pleas to avoid the bus. The child later admitted the abuse happened multiple times, but stayed silent out of fear. This transforms the case from a mistake into a pattern of cruelty.
Miss Jefferson has shown absolutely no remorse this entire case. At her arraignment, she stated that she had another school bus aide job set up in Ohio and laughed as she told Judge Simpson that she did this to be done with, so she could once again work with children. This was abuse. This changed a child and a family's life forever. This caused national outrage. I am a forgiving person, so Miss Jefferson makes that very difficult as she walks in the courtroom. As if the entire process was an inconvenience for her as she rolls her eyes and pouts in her chair. I pity her. I pity how she has been hardened by this world in such a way that she feels the need to take frustration out on an innocent child. I am trying not to hold a vengeful heart, but her callous disregard to the harm she has caused disgusts me. Shonda, I truly am sorry that this world has been so hardened to close your heart off in a way, the way that you were able to do what you did and not feel bad about it. You broke the mother code to keep each other's children safe.
All right, guys, the focus shifts to the defendant's behavior after the abuse. The mother describes eye-rolling, impatience, and laughter about future jobs working with children. There's no remorse, no shame, only inconvenience. This segment matters because it shows the court exactly who the defendant is when no excuses are left. Someone untouched by the harm they caused.
That's what we do. We keep each other's children safe. You betrayed this code and me, and you lied to me and talked about being a single mother and having a schizophrenic son and how you had my back and you're looking out for me. It was all lies. I truly hope you find healing in your heart to be kinder to others in the future, not because you were caught, but because you have seen the damage and the actions you have caused. What I pray for now is that as we watch the other videos, there are no incidents of other violence, although sadly, I don't expect that to be the case. Judge Simpson, I'm forever grateful that you found Ms. Jefferson guilty of child abuse, so that she'll never be able to abuse another child at work again. Other children's future and the fact that this video brought attention to how our special needs children are often treated as less than in this world are glimpses of positivity from this court experience.
Thank you. Ms. Reed.
All right, guys. The mother closes her statement with composure that's almost unbelievable given what she endured. She speaks about forgiveness, accountability, and protecting other children from suffering the same fate. She thanks the court for taking the abuse seriously. This moment isn't about anger. It's about strength, dignity, and a parent standing up for every child who can't speak for themselves.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have reviewed the recommendation from probation with my client. Obviously, there is a 60-month probation recommendation, which is quite serious, and she is understanding that she will have to comply with that. There's also a 15-day jail recommendation, and Ms. Jefferson would just like to ask if there was any way for the court to suspend that, as she has significant health issues. She is a person that multiple people in her family rely on for support, And she is also presently the only person at her place of employment, and would cause significant stress for them as well if she had to be taken into custody. She would lose her job and lose the stability that she provides for multiple family members. As I said, there is also a recommendation for 16 months of probation, which is 5 years and is quite significant. And she does understand and is willing to accept that portion of the recommendation. And she is just hopeful that if there is any way for her to avoid any time in custody, that the court would be willing to consider that.